Well, Anneke van Woudenberg is the Africa Deputy Director at Human Rights Watch and joins us now via Skype from London. Anneke, good to have you on the programme. I mean, the scale of this issue is very disturbing, isn't it? The report says hundreds of women have been made to trade sex for food, and it happened in several countries.
Yes, and I have to say, I'm not surprised, though I find it deeply saddening, of course. Look, this is something that we have seen in many of the countries of the world where the UN is operating, and it's been a problem that has been going on for many years. The UN has tried to tighten up on it, but it has got a couple of fundamental problems, one of which is that there is immunity from prosecution for peacekeepers that are deployed on UN peacekeeping missions, whether to Haiti or to Congo or to LIBERIA. If those peacekeepers commit crimes there, they cannot be held to account in those countries. They can only be held to account in their home countries. And far too often, this immunity is like a protective cloak around them. And so they're not held to account, whether that is for sexual abuse, such as rape. And remember, a number of these cases that this UN report is highlighting appear to be underage children, so under the age of 18. So in many places, that would be statutory rape. And of course, then there's the other component of this, which is sexual exploitation abuse. So where peacekeepers are entering into sexual relations with women, girls, sometimes with boys, who they then pay in exchange with food or medication or other things. Yeah. Those two issues are slightly separate, but both of them are going on.
And we heard recently allegations that French peacekeepers were abusing African children in the Central African Republic. I mean, what does this all do for the reputation and effectiveness of peacekeepers and indeed of the United Nations?
Well, what I should say is that the French peacekeepers in the Central African Republic were, of course, not under the UN umbrella. They're international peacekeepers, but they weren't part of the UN peacekeeping mission. But that doesn't change anything in the sense that this kind of activity does happen. It's hugely harmful to the reputation of international peacekeeping, to the reputation of the United Nations, and it's high time something is done about this. And I think one of the steps that really needs to be considered is stopping this immunity from prosecution, better investigations. This leaked report seems to indicate that sometimes these investigations take over a year. And then, of course, we do know very few of them ever come to fruition. Very little help for the victims, very little actual accountability that happens. And I think this is what needs to be tightened up. You know, I myself investigated some of this in Congo a number of years ago, and I remember stories of children exchanging sex for peanut butter, exchanging sex for eggs, because they were so desperate for food, so desperate for any kind of assistance. And the UN needs to get better at reporting it, tackling it, and actually making sure those who are involved in this are held to account and don't get this immunity from prosecution.
Indeed, a lot of people calling for changes there. Anneke, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Anneke van Woudenberg from Human Rights Watch.